Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about the moon square or opposition Saturn in Synastry. Now, first off, the unconscious side, the interpersonality, which is the moon person, may be in conflict with what the Saturn person concentrates on. And the thing is, the Saturn person may be callous or cold, toward the moon person, or at least the moon person's perception of the Saturn person may be such, and that could cause discord and emotional upsetment. Emotional upsetment, more on the moon person, of course. And the thing about it is, the moon is about our emotional needs. And let's say if the moon person has their moon in Aquarius and those emotional needs, it can be matters connected with groups, friendships, clubs, organizations, doing things associated with astronomy, astrology, computers, as some examples. And if the Saturn person, they have their Saturn square or opposite that person's moon, the Saturn person may appear insensitive to those needs of that moon person. Also, this could be, in some cases, there could be, monetary issues, especially, if the, let's say, if Taurus, Scorpio, the second and or the eighth house is involved in this synastry aspect of Taurus is the sign connected with income and money. Scorpio is the sign associated with support, which includes monetary support, shared resources, and the second house, naturally that's connected with income generated and money, things of material nature. The eighth house is associated with shared resources and support, which includes monetary support, joint accounts, shared resources. The Saturn person, may often see the negative traits of the unconscious side, the inner personality that's connected with the moon individual. The moon, let's say, if the moon person has their moon in Gemini, those negative side, that unconscious, negative traits. They could be connected with vicariousness, being superficial, overly loquacious or talkative, not having emotional depth. As some examples, being very inconstant, lacking persistence and follow through on matters. And the thing is, the moon person, may see the Saturn person, as someone who, might stymie, his or her emotions and, responses. And the thing about, this is, the Saturn person may perceive the moon person as being overly clingy and sensitive. So you have, the side of Saturn, which may have so much of a focus on the rational side of things. And the moon may be seen as more irrational and sensitive and emotional. And again, the Saturn person may be perceived as rather callous, cold, or even undemonstrative by the moon individual. The thing too is that the Saturn person, may be very maybe dominated by career, work-related matters. There may be a focus on going to work and making the money there, and then the thing is, as a result, that person may often not be at home enough for the moon person, which of course can cause exasperation on the moon person's part. The moon person, may be very engrossed and involved in home related activities, and not be there for that Saturn person, or be really that encouraging regarding the Saturn person's career or business related matters. So you do have a conflict right there in terms of what the interests could be, or where that focus lies with both people. And the thing about this is you have to look, as I've stated in my previous natal chart videos, and I talked about never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, or what have you, and make an analysis of a person, astrologically speaking, based on that alone, because the person is the sum of all their components in their natal chart and not just one. And the same applies towards synastry aspects. No one synastry aspect is going to make or break a connection or relationship with two people, whether it's a platonic one or a romantic one. This is where the moon, in this aspect, the moon square or opposite Saturn is certainly no exception. Now, in most synastry charts, you're going to have a plethora of aspects between person A and person B. Now, this is an adverse aspect, having the moon square or opposite Saturn between two people, but it can be offset to some degree by other positive aspects in the synastry chart with the two people. Now, the thing about this is, but it won't. What I want to state too, though, is it's not going to eradicate the basic interpretation of this aspect, but it can modify it to some degree, or lessen the intensity of it. Now, let's say you have two people. They have this synastry aspect in their charts. They have moon square or opposite Saturn, right? But let's say that the moon person has their moon, sextile or trine the Saturn person's Jupiter. Well, the Jupiter may be more positive regarding the inner personality and the unconscious side of the moon person, as opposed to the moon square opposite Saturn synastry aspect. And the Jupiter person may actually maybe be more beneficial to the moon person in terms of home and introverted matters. Maybe there to actually help expand a home. Could be putting a partition on the home, or bring more joy and happiness into that moon person's home life, be more exuberant regarding home and introverted related matters. So you have to look at the whole picture when you're delineating synastry aspects between person A and person B. Now, when I look at this, the synastry in, these, in this charts, when I look at the synastry aspect, moon square opposite Saturn, it's an aspect as well. When I say it is that, the moon person, the moon is about our sensitivity, and the Saturn, is about our fears. So it can also indicate that the moon person may not be overly sensitive toward any inhibitions that the Saturn person has. And Saturn is also connected with chronic illnesses. So what it tells me too is that having the synastry aspect may also suggest that the moon person may not always be there to care and nurture for this Saturn person. If Saturn person is debilitated, has some chronic issue going on with him or her. And another thing too, I would say, if this is, Saturn is also about mentoring and teaching. And if by chance this is a synastry aspect, say between a teacher and student, and the Saturn person is the teacher, the moon person is student, the moon person may not always be listening, or often not be listening to what the Saturn person is teaching. It could cause a conflict, because the moon is is receptive, it's about listening. So anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, Edwin Learnard signing, stay well.